to introduce myself. Stoner Story Witch.
It's a great story, and I don't necessarily mind that it happened, because the first person I told it to was like, I've never even heard of that. And I thought, yeah, that's the kind of story I want to tell. I've never even heard of that.
Oh my God.
Which in a way that relates because we're trying to write stories that no one else could tell.
Hello and welcome to the Stoner Story Witch. My name is Kristyn, and I am grateful to be hosting this podcast on the lands of the Chorotega people, colonially known as Costa Rica. Today's episode is essentially chapter 2 of the writers group process that I began in August of this year with my friend Matt. And so you can, if you have missed that episode, you can go back and listen to that for a little introduction. But today's episode really is going to be some snippets of some conversations that he and I had in early September. And I just have to name what an interesting experience it is to, have recorded a conversation in July that then is published in August, and then we don't talk again until early September. And then I'm listening to those conversations and editing them in the middle of October. It is a really interesting experience of, like the cycles of time or something. What also feels really interesting about the cycle of time, and I mentioned it a little bit, is how the theme of this writers group and having someone that you are able to invite into seeing your creative work as you are getting it into the world, how that is like an incredibly vulnerable process, and like the importance of doing it well, at least for me, at least in my experience. It's something that I remember learning from Sarah Faith Gottesdiener of the Moon Studio and the Moonbeaming podcast. A couple years ago, I attended a course called Resourcing the Creative Self. I think a lot of that continues to resource me to this day. But I remember one of the things that she said is like, protect your creative babies. Like, do not share them with just anyone, as they are still finding purchase, as they're still like gaining their way into the world, especially like what a non-starter it can be to be, without being really clear about what it is you are sharing, why you are sharing it, what it is you're hoping to get out of sharing it, to be exposing ourselves in that way, to our beloveds, can sometimes be opening us up, and for me, and I'll speak for myself, open myself up for attachment injury. Much like I talked about, speaking of the timelessness, I as I was listening to these conversations, and as I just continue to think about that scene in Little Women, I can paste the link to the podcast episode where I talk about it, but where Jo March is talking to the professor Friedrich and trying to get a sense of, of camaraderie. It's unclear actually what it is that, she's looking for, but he is not really giving it to her. And it is a scene that I feel really demonstrates this feeling of vulnerability. And it really is, I'm offering this episode as a way of really honoring my own attachment stuff that's coming up as I'm, building a collaborative kind of co-editing, co-resourcing, if you will, with, this friend that I met in my writers group. So the process has been lately for our writers group that, we meet once a week and we chat about our stuff. We press record to just kind of get some of the antsiness of what it is to like press record. out of the way. The majority of our conversations are not intended for the public. I will not be at this time sharing any samples of the writing that we are doing, but just kind of more some of the conversations that we're having kind of about the writing process itself. We are creating the space to talk about the feelings that might arise in us from the other person's work or from just the process in general. Today's episode really is an emphasis on kind of, for me, confronting that attachment wound of like, you know, the vulnerability of sharing your work with someone. And for me, it is transmuting maybe like the shame of like, oh my gosh, you know, like there's feedback. I didn't put it onto the page perfectly the very first time I put the words down. And also, you know, I don't know. I think for me, it's maybe unlearning a little bit of maybe what I learned in school, where it was just, you know, you would turn in your work to your teacher and the teacher would, you know, just grade you or tell you that, you know, it had to be better. And maybe it is like a corrective experience for like, okay, like this person is on my set. We are on the same team here. They are trying to help me bring the best possible version of what it is that I'm trying to convey out into the world, right? I know what it is I'm trying to say. I know what I'm trying to convey, but am I actually properly putting those words onto the page? You know, somebody who's not in my brain, who doesn't see it, who doesn't feel it, when they read the words that I've written, what are they picking up? And it's such a necessary process. And this podcast episode in particular, I really want to name just what a bold and brave act of courage it is to invite someone into that process with you and to open yourself up to that, to that relationship. So another thing that I will be including in these episodes, I believe, is anytime each other's work or some part of the process is reminding us of a story or a scripture or a TV show or whatever it is, that I'm including those in here as just kind of part of, Sophie Strand calls it like the compost heap, right? Like it's all in the mix. It's all in the field. It's, Gina Cadlick even mentioned in the podcast, in the most recent podcast, how, you know, stories really are just like a collective conversation. Dana Lynn Nichols would call it, you know, liberation is collective imagination. And so in a lot of ways, like there really are no new stories, and that is okay. And it just means that we all get to be in conversation with each other. And so it feels nice to honor the stories that have mentored us to this point where we are then, you know, trying to bring different stories to life. I just want to reiterate that these writers group episodes that I'm doing in my, what I'm calling season 5, but as they're sprinkled out in the coming months, I'm offering them really as like little diary entries into the process of creating something. And so if you've listened to other episodes where, you know, I might be coming at it with, you know, very specific questions, very specific, like an intention of what it is that I'm going to be talking about in an outline. This is not that. This literally is, the process of this is I am just listening to old conversations that I had and revisiting those moments, reflecting on them, and then just offering them out as like a little journal entry, like a little diary. So if that sounds interesting to you, oh my gosh. Hello. If you have thoughts or responses, please, by all means, shoot me an email at stonerstorywitch@gmail.com or comment on the post on the Substack where you found this episode. But yeah, it's like the idea of just having a personal conversation and offering it out to the collective. And, you know, maybe not everybody has people that they can necessarily meet with, but maybe your mirror neurons can get activated by the idea that like, okay, there are people doing this work. And so I I am just in it. And this episode and episodes like these are just demonstrating the in itness of trying to bring a creative work to life. So without any further ado, here are the snippets of various conversations that I had with my friend Matt in early September.
That's incredible.
Well, yeah, that was when I think that was when we recorded, was mid-July.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's fun.
I took August off.
Podcast sounds great, by the way.
You listened?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm glad you liked it. I liked listening to it too. It just kind of felt, it's kind of like a weird time traveling thing to like have a conversation, be kind of in the process of editing it so that others can hear it. And then when it comes out, like listening to it again, being like, oh, like that, it's like hitting differently just a month later or something.
Oh, that's so cool.
If we proceed as though we are like the protagonists in the story of our own life and just kind of like locate yourself, like, where are you? What is the type of story you're like? So to me, I'm just like, okay, archetypally, it's like returning the ring to Mordor is like birthing this book, is like clicking publish on this book is like the moment that, or you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, like I found an ally.
Yeah.
I found somebody, or maybe, and now maybe it's like, maybe it's actually more like the Wizard of Oz. And it's like, I found my scarecrow. Like somebody else wants to go see the wizard.
Hey, I like that. Yes.
And you're kind of on your own journey, and I'm kind of on my own journey.
But we're going to the same place.
Yeah. And I think it is a really intimate relationship, a really intimate journey. And also, we are needing to survive in capitalism, and so it's like it's a dark story. It's a really dark Wizard of Oz where it could be a couple months, and the scarecrow has like been so busy trying to deal with the mental health of their family and the collapsing financial system. You know what I mean? Where it's just like
working in the witches' minds, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, even like I've just noticed the more excited I get about writing and like having us meeting kind of with this intention is like the more I find myself getting afraid that like I'm gonna lose it. Like, oh well, what like that's a busy guy. Like I think you're as earnest as I am, and that's pretty rare. I think my earnestness is not something I always find in others, and that's something that I feel like you meet and match my earnestness in a way that like
being earnest isn't cool. It's trained out of us, I think, in the 90s.
Yeah. I've had to work to like earn it and own it, I guess. But I think with that, there's the earnest wound of just like the times that I've wanted to do something creative with somebody else and they're kind of into it, and then they're like, actually no, and then like I'm the weird one.
Yeah.
And I was just like, but you know what? Even if that happens, I don't think that like it's because Matt thinks I'm weird. I don't think it's probably just because like Matt has 3 kids and is like
anything that would take me out of this would be purely environmental. It would be, what did they say? Constituting. I saw a funny meme about it.
And that's
something happening.
And that's like super sad. And then I could, but like I can be with sadness, and I can keep like, it's like as great as it is to have like a companion on the journey. Like even if like it doesn't change anything about what I'm doing. And I think like that was something that I was just kind of like reflecting on, because I was just like, it's hard. Like the attachment stuff that comes up, I think, when you're like in relationship with somebody else, and then what if it doesn't go the way you want it to be? I'm thinking of, I did an episode on Little Women, and there was one where she's like trying to show her work to the professor, and he like is critiquing it, and all she wanted was for him to be like, I love it. And that was like the thing that like kept her from writing ever again until she finally, years later. Anyway. And I was just like, oh, this kind of feels like that. And it's like, oh, but I don't have to do that. That doesn't have to be my story, right?
That's right. No matter what, the affirmation is there. And yeah, I'm enthusiastically earnest about this. So yeah.
Do you want to share anything about what, like, since recording, or I mean, you shared a little bit about rearranging your books, but I don't know,
Yeah.
before we drop in and do whatever we want to do today.
Do you know what happened 2 days ago? It's kind of funny. I don't know if you noticed. This is a story. I just want to share a funny story. How's that? Two
Sure.
days ago, I was sitting on the balcony enjoying a beer. And
Okay.
then time goes on. I go inside. It takes me a long time to finish this particular beer. And then it's
Okay.
almost gone. I brought it inside and I haven't touched it for maybe an hour. Playing Stardew Valley with my wife, enjoying the video game. Oh, there's a little sip left. All right. And I greedily throw it back. And it's like, oh, is there like a stick in here? And then suddenly I'm stung by a wasp on my tongue 4 times.
Oh no.
And I'm like, no, no. And my tongue was massive. I was this close to calling 911.
Yeah.
Because if he had stung me on the back, I wouldn't have been able to breathe. And I had prepped just mentioning that in case I'm talking funny, because my tongue is all bruised still.
Oh no. Now that you say it, I
Yeah.
guess I notice it, but I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah. And at this point, now that I've actually been able to sleep a little last night, because the first night was not easy, it's a great story. And I don't necessarily mind that it happened. Because the first person I told it to was like, I've never even heard of that. And I
Huh.
thought, yeah, that's the kind of story I want to tell. I've never even heard of that.
Oh my
Which
God.
is, which in a way and that relates because we're trying to write stories that no one else could tell.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And
Oh, well, I'm
in
glad
some ways, that's even more true about fan fiction,
yeah.
the one
Yeah.
they didn't tell. And
Right.
only you could tell that.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because one thing that I always kind of, or at least lately, lean towards in my writing is the process of deconstruction, right?
yeah.
Like shortly after my faith fell apart, I went to U of T and I took an introductory sociology course. And they talked about stuff like people going through normlessness after deconstructing from big world views, like where sort of the norms, the things that are normal, the worldview that you don't even necessarily think about, but that you view the world in,
Uh-huh.
when it falls apart, that's a weird place to be, and you can't stay there because you got to rebuild everything. Um,
Right.
uh, and so I want to write about that. People who go through it and are able to rebuild, people who can't.
And just I feel just really grateful that you're sharing this with me because like
Ah,
you
you
just wrote
kidding?
it. It's like the fucking or like it's just like it's the origin and it's like I just recognize it's like a very vulnerable thing and I want to make
Oh.
sure that I like properly I guess I'm curious to ask like maybe just even like how does it feel sharing it with me and then the next question might be like what do you what would feel good for me to get like you want my questions do you want like just me to parse out what it felt like to read it like what would be helpful for me from
I'm here for all of these things and all of these honest reactions. I'm totally here for. It's really encouraging to hear about, yeah, that he seems effective and meaningful. Because I also want to, I always, regret is one of those things that can really bring folks down. And I want to make sure that there's a cure for regret in having only one path. Uh, that's the only flaw I see in my book, that the one thing that our heroes do get is they get the chance to relive all of their lives without the danger of it. Um, so I want something for the other characters who are left behind with only their one life to live. But thankfully, I have a lot of characters. So, and I do have, now that I say that, I do have a disaffected, almost elderly man character who could, yeah, I just want to, that's an important thing for me.
the cure for regret first love that yeah love that you're like holding your readers so thoughtfully and care like just that I think that's another
Well,
thing
it's the deconstruction thing, right? Because a
yeah
lot of
that's
people come out mad.
I think it's, well, if I may, I think it's almost more the like, I guess I feel more of a sense of compassion for that like Christian part of you that's probably still like that compassionate part of you that was probably still there as a Christian. Like, okay, well, like how do we, like the attunement that I think kind of comes when you feel companioned by spirituality, like the part that's still intact, even when like,
Hmm.
and yeah, to like be caring for your reader like you'd be caring for your congregation, kind of like, well, I have this sermon and I also know people might feel this way, people might feel this way, but there's
Hmm.
actually the chance that people could hear this sermon and feel regret. So how do I tend to them? How do I care for them? And that just feels like such a skillful attunement for any writer to be caretaking their readership that way.
That
And
is such a cool way of looking at that. Wow. Oy.
okay, so I
Well,
mean,
that's super useful. You should, if you're feeling it, tell me about your stuff and how
yeah,
I can, as we would say in the olden days, how I can minister to you.
I'm just curious what it would be like for somebody who has not read it at all. It's kind of, I think I can just contextualize. I just sent you like, as if you're opening up the book, other than that like little prologue, like this is what you're,
Hmm.
and ideally I could give people enough of what's going on that they won't be like so lost without having read the first three books. What are you actually like super confused about? What, like just kind of some more technical things to just care for the my friends that might be reading this that are like, sorry, I can't read three books before,
Ah,
kind of thing.
right. So like an outsider's sort of point of view. So I shouldn't look up the lore and the wiki of this universe.
Yeah, I think no, I certainly don't want that to be labor that like you have to do. Or if you notice yourself doing it, be like, I needed to look this up. Or
Right.
but I'm happy to answer questions or and maybe and again maybe I don't know, like it's just it's interesting because to me I'm like, oh, like I get it, I wrote a little thing, people will get it, and it's like, yeah, but they might not, Kristyn. So
I
um
will be the one to find out.
yes, you will.
I'll be the one to find out. And you want like other feedback that may be useful and encouraging and or whatever or
Yeah, like I think I can. I mean, what you gave me the last time was super great.
okay. So it's doing like a bunch of things at once. First off, you have this theme of narrative and certain judgments being attached to certain narratives that lead to certain emotional outlooks. And so you got layers, and then it feels like this is near the beginning.
Uh-huh.
So she is narrating to herself in order to remember,
Yeah,
and there is interspersed judgment in it to protect against the greedy Griffin riders, those
yeah,
bastards. They're nasty people. We're the
right.
good people. But you can also tell that she's not necessarily holding that in her heart because she is giving it to herself by rote. She is
Yeah,
reciting it,
yeah,
and that's where the bad, the
yeah.
negativity, the judgment comes in. And then, oh, it also helps a reader like me who's never read it, I absolutely understand everything now. I don't know. I don't need to know what a griffin is to know that the greedy griffin riders are, ooh, so those are going to be our
Right.
bad
Well, they were
guys.
the bad guys of the first book, and so
Oh,
she's kind
okay.
of like, oh, but wait. And so, kind of as she's getting her amnesia back, I'm kind of hoping to get all the readers up to date.
That's perfect because, oh,
I
that's great. Because it also solves that one problem in basically every good found footage horror. Why are you recording this?
yes,
Right? And it
yes.
perfectly solves that in a way that, like, the I remember reading Dracula
Okay.
and the whole book. Have you ever read Dracula?
Mm-mm.
It's all journals.
Oh.
It's the journals of all the main characters. That's it. So all the action is after the fact. This is
I
what we
I
did
love that
yesterday.
freedom. I love that freedom of just being like, does it like have? And I think that's kind of what I like about this. This was the thought I was just having before, was that I can actually. It's actually very helpful that you said that because it's reminding me that before we even got on the call, I was thinking, like, what if I didn't have to have so much action? What if a lot of just dreams and journaling that she's doing is truly just like she doesn't know what to do or where to go, and she's just truly just like kind of getting downloads of information in her dreams and processing it in her journal, and she's coming in and she's kind of, you know, saying like, oh, people are really doing this and I'm trying to work hard at this, and but it like doesn't have to be about the like all the banter that's going on with everyone as it's happening. And movies, I was talking about this with a parent the other day, where it's like, oh, you know, kids want to be perfect at things before they'll try something. And I was like, yeah, you know, some of that is like, you know, we push it on them. And I was like, well, and think about it, like, you know, and so many of like the kids stories we see are like, you want to do a thing, and then there might be like a 30 second, like, they're working really hard, days and weeks go by, and now they finally know how to ride a bike, and then they can like be in this bike competition. But it's like, we need to really pay attention to the fact that in that, like, they're making the, it makes you think of like those graphs that have those like little twigglies to like distort it. It's like the majority of time of this story, of this event, like if you actually broke it out, like the majority of the story is just them riding the bike. Like learning riding doesn't have to be lots of action. It can be a lot of integration and meaning making and pulling things together that then informs. And my hope is that it will still, is that my fanfic will provide an edge.
Just delightful. The Dispossessed, my favorite book.
Okay.
And I discovered some years ago that there is a short story that she wrote set in the same universe about Odo, the leader of the anarchistic movement that moves to Eurus in the first place. And it's just an evening in her life. And it is utterly different from The Dispossessed, just an utterly different story. And it was just a delight to have that little, it was very quiet. There's no action whatsoever. It's literally her just walking out of the house that she's living in thinking. And then going to bed, and then it's like implied that she dies in her sleep or something like that. That's it, just this meditation. And that feels like this. And even the writing style, the genre is completely different even.
Yeah. I'm trying to do my 500 to 1,000 words a day for the month of September. So I still need those for today, but I trust I can.
I might try that. I might try that. I might try.
You're going to try it with me?
I might as well, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if you can, like, I think I might do like, you know, 500 to 1,000 words, like parentheses, or 2 hours, because I'm also kind of at the point where I kind of have to like reread some of my stuff to even just figure out. And I want to be compassionate with myself. So it's like, okay, I could trade in the time for, you know, anyway.
100%.
Find ways to be compassionate. All right. Well, don't be a stranger. I consider just emails to be like, you know, old time. Like I'm just putting it on a little pigeon, and I don't know when it'll get to you, or like if you're going to shove it in the back of your pack and you're not going to unload until the next camp, and maybe like there's just all that to say, no pressure to like listen or respond. I think sometimes I just want you to. I'm worried that my earnest, this is my insecurity, that I guess I'm just sharing, that like I recognize I can be earnest. I recognize I might have more time this month than you have. And if I'm like sending you a thing, it's like because I needed to send the thing, and not that I can handle your silence.
I love that clarification. And I kind of mirror it. Okay. So and I never tire of receiving messages either. Okay. Even if I don't seem to reply, they're not in my backpack. They got read.
Okay. Sounds good. Good to know. That's good to know. All right. I already was thinking, it's like we kind of have like segments. It's like, we talk about just like, how's the process? How are you? And then like a little bit of the workshopping stuff. But imagine my delight opening my email this morning and seeing you, because I sent that like a while back, and I was, and like the more time that went, I was just like, wow, Kristyn, that was a really big chunk to just like make somebody read. But I was just like, it felt like just like it was when I was gone, and I was like, oh, if you just like read a page here and there or not, like no pressure. But I was just like, oh, what a, it's just weird how that like shame response or something like that. It's like, well, obviously this is my fault. Obviously I did something wrong.
Mm.
Obviously this was too much. And then being like, holy shit, you like read all 12 pages like very quickly. Or maybe it wasn't quick, like it seemed like probably. Um, and then in came the like a different kind of shame response, like a level 3, like not intense, but like definitely like, oh hey old friend, like, you know, receiving that paper from your English teacher and like there's a bunch of red pen on it, you know, and maybe like embarrassed, and maybe it's a little bit, maybe that's like a word for it. um but then also just like a big wave of gratitude. Felt really grateful, and then yeah, and then I think a little bit embarrassed because I was just like, wow, somebody with like a master's degree in creative writing is just like giving me their time to like edit my
Oh,
shit. And
well, I will tell you this. A couple of times I was thinking to myself, now, hold on, Matt. How friggin' I really wanted to avoid making you feel embarrassed at all because there was nothing correct needing correct. I guess I'm just
and
trying
I
to.
just want to stop you right there. You're not responsible for my feelings, right? Like these feelings are going to come up regardless. And this is like a practice of, I think I talked with you last week about that scene in Little Women where she's like showing this guy her writing. Um, and I was just like, oh, that's kind of what's going on here. And however, that particular scene in that movie is like it going poorly. And this is me being like, I'm just going to name that, like, okay, these feelings came up and it was nothing to do with you and everything to do with, like, this is what capitalism has done to, like, the creative process where it's like, let's create, but then, like, let's make sure it's perfect. Let's make sure. And it's like, and,
Right.
and the goal isn't to make me feel, but it's like, I want this to be good. Like, I want the reader, like I want anybody who reads this to understand it, to feel the feelings that I'm trying to evoke in them, to whatever, you know, like to companion them in some way. And like if you can help me do that, I guess it put differently, it also reminded me, this is when we first moved here to Costa Rica, we like some things around our house that we like needed fixed, and we like didn't even like know where to buy a hammer, but we knew somebody who like was a fix it person, and we're like, oh, you want to come over? And like we kind of like told him what stuff we needed done. They didn't tell us when he was coming over, but then just one day out of the blue, he comes with like 10 guys. And they like the one guy to do this thing. And like he just had like a team of people. And my husband and I are just like, there's literally nowhere in our house we can go. Like we're like, there's
Ah,
nobody. And it was just like kind of this like, but then we just like looked at each other and we're like, we asked for this. They're doing us a favor. This is a good thing. Like this will, like we wanted this. We asked them to be here. This is a good thing, you know? And so it's almost like a little bit of that, like, okay, like, hey now. Interesting.
I'm really in your house. Yes.
Yeah. And so it's like, you are doing what I'm asking you to do. My feelings about it are just that's my experiences, you know, from being in school. It has absolutely like, you've done nothing. You've done everything right, you know? Yeah.
I will tell you this. About halfway through, I realized that I had been unconsciously treating it as I would have treated some of the other pieces from people that I've been writing with for 10 years.
Oh,
And
okay.
I did suddenly think to myself, no, wait a second. Am I overstepping? I
No,
don't know, but if so, we'll find out.
no.
So for you to voice that is useful for me. And I hope that it's useful. That's all. I think that we
Well,
have the
I
same
don't want you
goals.
to change anything. So
It
no,
is
I'm
very early days. Yeah.
flattered that you treated it like you would anybody else. I don't want you to change what you're doing. I think that just like maybe there was just a sense of just like, okay, like we're doing it. It's like I think you're kind of like, yeah, you're editing it for clarity, and I'm also just really curious, like because this is you diving in feet first into this universe after 3 books, after having not read any of them.
Yeah.
And so like you made one comment that was very useful. Like, I missed the point where I was supposed to. Was I supposed to?
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you, Matt, for continuing to meet with me and trudge along in this journey. Thank you to everyone in my life that has, even if just energetically, has been offering me witnessing and support and companionship in this process. I am still months and months and months away from it being finished, and it just feels meaningful and possible to be continuing on this journey in the midst of these tumultuous times. Just knowing that there are people in the world that are collectively imagining with me and companioning me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. As always, feel free to comment on the Substack post where you found this, or reach out to me at stonerstorywitch@gmail.com. It is my hope that every creator out there who wants and needs companionship on that journey to Oz, or to return the ring to Mordor, wherever it is, whatever your story is of your life, it is my hope that you are well companioned and well resourced for that liberatory journey. Thank you to John Williams and Anais Mitchell for the inspiration for the theme song of the Stoner Story Witch podcast, as well as Matt Schubbe and Kevin Carlo for their creative juices for the cover art and the sound editing and production. And with that, I will leave you with my quote from Rev. Angel Kyoto Williams that says, "Love and justice are not two. Without inner change, there can be no outer change. And without collective change, no change matters." Take good care, everyone. Bye for now.